Hello and welcome to the Stoppage Time Penalty Show with your host Brice, and I have the kind of competition head. I mean, like, is that your title?
Yeah, let's go for London Cup organizer. That's what I
Look,
put. It's just more easier for everyone to digest.
there you go, London Cup organizer. And again, please like, subscribe, do like all of the great stuff. So we are going to be talking about the first rounds of the London Vets Cup 2022/2023. We have the draw, but like before we kind of go into the draw, Jamal's going to explain the reason why we couldn't do the draw live.
Yeah, so in regards to cup draws, I think people need to remember a few principles. No one has really found a way to deliver a cup draw that can't be questioned in any way. Whether you do a computer draw and then release it, if you do the sort of live ticker where you do a sort of wheel of names, or if you do an open draw that's live with the teams in the room, and people are picking balls because the Champions League a few seasons back you had the warm balls conspiracy. So unless you were to get every single team in the room and then they would go up and randomly select balls, that would be the only sort of completely foolproof way of doing draws. But for amateur level sport, even for professional sport, that isn't really that practical. So people kind of just have to accept things how they are for now until we figure out sort of the most effective way to do so, and sort of get on with it. Look at the draw. If you have any issues, voice it through the proper channels. But for the most part, hey, we're here to play. Let's play. Let's compete, and may the best team win. It's a knockout competition. Let's go for it. I think one more thing to remember. I think the FA Cup is, especially the third round draw when the Premier League and Championship teams come into it. There's always a lot of derbies. Sometimes we have Merseyside derbies. Sometimes we have Manchester derbies, North London derbies in the third and fourth round. Sometimes you have plenty of interleague derbies, so all Premier League ties, all Championship ties, so on and so forth. And it can happen at every level. So unless you have a very, very seeded draw, a very seed-heavy draw like the Champions League draw or the World Cup draw, where things people need to put into pots and you can't draw another team from your country. Unless we do something like that, the draws can always come out in a way where someone is going to be unhappy or can question it. Draws are always going to be questionable. In regards to the London Cup, I think people just need to remember how many London Cups there are. There are 32 London Cup competitions. 32. Okay, 32. And we actually assist on another 3. So 35 in total in regards to London and the capital. And in regards to how the cups are treated, you should be treating all cups the same. So if you do a live draw for one, you should do a live draw for the pool. But that's very, very difficult to do so. So there have been some people who were unhappy with some other draws in other competitions. So it would have felt a bit inconsistent if we did a live draw for the first round of the Vets. We can do a live draw in the latter rounds, but just to respect everyone as part of the grassroots football community in London, thought it was best to draw all the first rounds the same.
And can we confirm what round we can start doing the live draws on in the Vets Cup?
Yes, we'll go from the round of 16. So the first round is the round of 64. The second round will be the round of 32. So effectively, the third round we can do a live draw. So we can do that live on the Amateur Football Podcast. Yeah, and we can go from there.
Should we quickly go over the holders charcoal? Just a few words about them.
Yeah, charcoal. Charcoal. What can you say? You are getting into a situation where you're looking at a legacy, real legacy being created. A team who people may know the players well, but a club who've come out of nowhere in a way and have thrusted themselves straight into the elite of veterans football. Gets into the final, then gets into the final back to back, and then now being the holders. I'm sorry, I don't care what anyone says. I've said this before in other competitions. If Charcoal get back to the final this season, you then have to consider the conversation about Charcoal being one of the best Vets football teams of all time. It's as simple as that. And not to rain on their parade, but it's going to be similar for West Fulham. West Fulham won in 21. got back to the final in 22. Charlton and West Fulham really have that Liverpool Man City vibe about them too. They're just going head to head to head to head to head. We'll see what happens again this season. Obviously, it's a draw. They could draw each other before the final, but who knows? But once again, it's starting to become an elite rivalry, especially if they get back again this season. It's going to be unheralded, really. Someone's going to have to go way back in the history books to find out when this has happened before. But the Charcoal, well-run, excellent side. West Fulham, the same. So we'll see.
Cool. So let's go through the teams that have got buys first. So teams that got buys are All Stars FC Vets, Continental, Continental United Vets, Enfield Borough, Shepherd's Bush, Hillingdon, Jamrock, London South United Vets Masters, Rainers Lane, Sporters Kits, Charcoal, West Fulham, and Woodford Town. So those teams have them buys into the second round?
Correct, yes.
Cool. So let's go to the first round of the London Vets Cup, sponsored by the Amateur Football Platform. So that's Cool You Vets versus Sporting Santos. That's Summer Athletic Vets versus Johnson and Phillips. Norwood Lakers versus Independent. Shade Green Knights versus Long Lane. Barnhurst Vets versus Old Pepe's Vets. Hale and FC versus SP Athletic. Greenwich Challenge Vets versus Glebe Vets. Grasshoppers versus I can't read that from here. Is that Russells?
Rustlers, yeah, Russell. Groundhoppers versus Rustlers.
Russells. Southeast Athletic versus Catford Wanderers 2008. Old Plistonians versus Herne Bay Vets. FC Town Vets versus Cray Arrows. So just to let you guys know, one of the Cray Arrows teams have sadly folded. I
believe it's the 2010 team, not the
okay.
Yeah, it's a 2010 Vets team.
Okay, so literally, I guess that Croy Gas Phoenix are going to get a buy. I am going to assume.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So Cray Owls Vets the 2010 have folded. So Croy Gas Phoenix will actually get a buy, and that is Anadonians first.
Anatolians, yeah, former winners. People
former winners a few years ago versus Wapping Vets. And then Sporting Bengal Vets versus Italia Vets.
Italia Vastilles, yeah.
Yeah. Vastilles. London Turkish Masters versus Tainsley Sunday Vets. Old Chigwellians,
yeah.
Yeah. Chigwellian Vets versus Latima Road Vets. And Alien Old Boys Vets versus Parkfield Youth Old Boys Vets, and Old Poppies Vets versus Cannon Town Vets, and Livingston Vets versus Mayfair United Vets. And all of these fixtures will be played on the 8th and 9th of October 2022. So out of all those fixtures, which fixture catches your eye?
Oh, a few. I mean, first rounds can be tricky, but yeah, I think Old Prometheans versus Herne Bay Vets be interesting. Herne Bay, a very interesting club. Obviously, anyone knows what Herne Bay is. It's closer to France than it is to certain parts of London, so they've had to come into London to get some competition. So that'll be interesting. Norwood Lakers versus Independent will be an interesting one. I found that interesting as well. Anatolians, former winners, that'll be interesting. So yeah, I mean, there's a couple of clubs in there. I think Anatolians and London Turkish Masters, or definitely Anatolians, they still play in open age football, but obviously everyone's 35 or older. So, former winners, they're always going to be an interesting one. We have one for the ages as well, Livingston and Mayfair. I mean, for those who are proper into vets football, I remember joining, playing for DFC how many years ago, and when the vets team would talk about Livingston and Mayfair, they'll talk about, they'll talk about them so highly, so that's probably one for the ages. I don't know what standard those teams are at these days, but about a decade or so ago, that would have been a major match. Those teams really dominated South London and Surrey for a while. But those are the ones that stand out. Obviously, standing out, a lot of these teams are as good as each other, man. It's a coin toss. Some of these teams who we haven't heard of will end up being a great game. Who knows?
And let's kind of put Charcoal and West Fulham out of this conversation. But who else, or what other teams do you think could be challenging to actually put their hands on the London Vets Cup?
Yeah, it's hard to look past, Liverpool, Man City. So, it's always so, West Fulham and Charcoal, they've earned it. Back-to-back finals, yeah, cool. But all you have to do is look at the results from last season, okay? Charcoal knocked out London South United 4-3, okay? That could have gone either way. Simple as that. Sporting Kits, you speak to any of the sort of West London mandem, they speak incredibly highly of that team. They got knocked out last season on penalties, okay? Same thing with Rayners Lane. I think Rayners Lane lost in the semi-finals to West Fulham 5-4. So although Charcoal and West Fulham are dominating the competition in terms of their performance and getting to back-to-back finals, let's not act like they've steamrolled everyone 8-1. That hasn't happened. Charcoal deserve immense credit because they've had to knock out London South United, but it was one goal. Knock out Sporting Kits on penalties. It was tight. Same thing with West Fulham. West Fulham knocked out Jamrock, who will be another force, 4-3, and then they knocked out Rayners Lane 5-4. So West Fulham and Charcoal deserve so much respect, but we've got to remember it was very, very tight. It was very, very close. So Rayners Lane can't overlook them. Sporting Kits can't overlook them. London South United, boy, listen, if you got a team and you want to have a cup run, you don't want to come against any of those teams.
Very true. Very true. Jamal, thank you so much for coming on. And again, just to let you know, the ties will be played on the 8th and 9th of October 2022. I'm really looking forward to getting a lot of the teams, managers, players onto the podcast to actually talk more about their teams, and again, the big games. I want the big game players on this platform, the only platform for Masters Football, the amateur football platform on YouTube. So again, Jamal Horn, thank you so much for coming on. And again, guys, please like and subscribe, and we will see you next week.